Hello, Stu and Joe. Thanks for both coming on. We're just going to have a quick chat about the Sheffield Mental Health Guide redesign. Joe, do you want to start off by telling us about what you do at Flourish and what is Flourish, first of all?
Yes, definitely. So we're a Sheffield Mental Health charity. We're kind of a community charity. So what we try to do is link people up with good stuff that's happening and put good stuff on. So linking people up is kind of the Sheffield Mental Health Guide's role. So we list about 300 services and about 150 activities. So some of the activities our charity put on are there on the Sheffield Mental Health Guide. Basically, there's loads of stuff in terms of services, loads that are really small that people don't know about. So we're a big directory where you can go on and search about things that are relevant to you and find a service to support you. And then the activities, I think, is a really important thing that other similar websites maybe don't have, which is kind of recognizing that mental health friendly activities are really, really helpful when you're struggling. It's a way to reduce social isolation, learn new skills. So yeah, we've got a whole section of activities, which could be things like mental health friendly football, or going or like a social group or a support group or gardening. So yeah, that's a bit about what we do.
Oh, that's so nice. That's amazing. How long has it been going for?
So our charity's been around since 2012, but the Mental Health Guide has been running for a really long time, since before 2009. It was originally a booklet, and then it was brought online in 2009. It's funded by the City Council. And yeah, so it's been a website since then. And we've actually just put it back into booklet form because during lockdown, we recognised there's this real gap in people not being able to access digital or not knowing how to access digital. So we kind of wanted a booklet that would show people what's on the website, but also hopefully get them supported to getting onto the website as well, because obviously the website's the most up-to-date thing.
When did Hive and Flourish start sort of working together on the Sheffield Mental Health Guide?
So I think we started working with Hive initially. They redesigned our Sheffield Flourish website. I think that was probably about 3 years ago. And they did a really, really, really nice job. So we wanted to redevelop the mental health guide. I think about a year ago, we started conversations, and we've had a really great co-production process that we've got, that Hive have largely led on in a really kind of collaborative, thought out way. So we did usability testing on the existing website first, which was really, really useful because you got to see what worked and what didn't work with what was already there and what people really liked. And we kind of built on that and did a sketching workshop again with people with lived experience of what we want the website to look like. And then I think it's probably been, I don't know how long you think it's been, Stu, of developing, but maybe about 4 months.
Yeah, something like that. We definitely started this year. Yeah, I'll probably say about 4 months, or we're probably in the 4th month now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Stu, were you part of the process from the very start as well then with the Sheffield Mental Health Guide?
Yes, I think so. So I think even before this work, we were already kind of supporting, or we were doing maintenance on the old website as well, which I did bits and bobs on. And yeah, pretty much. I wasn't involved in the user testing on the old site, and but once the designs were kind of put together by Alan and stuff like that, then yeah, that's when I was a lot more involved.
Yeah, okay. And what were like the main needs at the start of the project then?
I think a lot of people said that they didn't immediately know what the website did, and I think we co-produced the first version of the website, the version that previous developers had made. But what made a real difference this time around was that, as well as we got that user feedback of not knowing what it was, and then we just had a really amazing designer, Alan, who was just like, what do we do with that? Well, here's a really simple solution. We're going to make it look a bit like booking.com, a bit like these common search engine things. And it was one of those things that's like such a perfect solution. It's almost quite obvious, but as soon as he brought that in, it was like, oh, this is such a better website. And he made it really beautiful as well, which is very pleasing. And people have really said that that means a lot to them, just to be able to go on a website and it looks really colourful and it looks really simple and clean. And yeah, so it's a lovely website.
Oh yeah, that sounds great. Stu, how did we go about putting all of that together then? What was like the process?
If I can remember rightly. So I think one of the first main factors for me was looking at, well, we kind of knew that it was going to be like a from scratch build because like I said before, we were maintaining the old site and we knew that there was a lot of stuff in there that was kind of, it just needed to go because it was so custom and bespoke that when it came to maintaining it, it was like a lot of work to try and figure out what was going on in the code and stuff like that. So the first thing, so we knew it was going to be a new website and we were going to be fetching across all of the data. And so the first step was to just kind of clean up all of the data, get rid of all of kind of data fields that weren't going to be used anymore, lots of like deprecated and old kind of post types that was there that we don't have anymore, like information pages that were just kind of stale now. So I suppose, that was the first step. And then from then on, so my first task was managing the migration. And then we kind of didn't really know which direction we were going to go in terms of like developing the site itself. So we had some discussions about, well, here's what I'm working on. How could we do this in the best way? And we heard about recently that you can use WordPress as a headless CMS. So that gives us the ability to kind of develop our own website, use the nice content maintaining tools WordPress provides, and then kind of marry those two together rather than kind of building kind of like a WordPress driven website, if that makes sense, which allows us to use the tools and the processes that we would have on like any other larger scale project. Or it's kind of like the tools that we know how to use and we use every day and we enjoy using, like that just became available to us, which allowed us to make it such a better, more accessible, quicker developed, higher quality, dynamic website, I suppose. So we went with that approach in the end. But that using WordPress in that way in itself is kind of somewhat new idea. So there's still some creases that we need to iron out. But largely that's kind of what's happened over the last 12 months, I guess, at least what I've been working on anyway.
Yeah, that sounds great. It sounds like we have like more sort of options and freedom to then edit things as we go along. Is that right?
Yeah, so I think in the old site we didn't have the block editor, which WordPress provides, whereas now we do, which I don't know if, Joe, you probably find that's better. It gives you a lot more freedom. Yeah. And so if you want to make a particular page look in a particular way, you're not tied down to asking us to do it for you. Or so that was something I was kind of like advocating for, making sure that you guys would be able to use that, or we were going to make sure that would be put into the site. But it was kind of like just turning on a feature and us just stepping out of the way and letting WordPress work in that way on the site itself. Hopefully you guys will enjoy using that.
Yeah, we're already using it. It's really, really good. Yeah. And I didn't know that was this new thing that you can do with WordPress, but that's really cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good to hear. How was like working together, Hive and Flourish? You seem to have like such a good relationship. Like I've only been at Hive for I think about 6 or 7 weeks now, but I saw the video last week and I was like, oh my God, that was like the cutest thing. Like I just loved it. It like made me more proud of like working for Hive. It was so lovely. So thanks for that as well. But yeah, how has it been like working together then?
Well, I mean, so our first interaction with Hive was actually you guys helping us out when we were struggling on a website years ago, and it was completely for free. It was just you saw that we were a nice charity. I think the team liked what we did and felt excited about us, even though we were quite small at the time, and we got loads of help for free, and that was really cool. And I was like, I really want to work with Hive. And when we finally got to work with you guys, I was really, really pleased. And felt very optimistic, and that optimism has definitely paid off. I feel like everyone is really, really positive. There's an attitude of like wanting to do the very, very best. So sometimes, for example, like in my previous experience of developers, you kind of will ask somebody to do something and they will do it. But for Hive, it's like you ask you guys if you can do something, you'll do it and make additional suggestions that might make it better. And that is just really, really nice. And for the end user, which is people with mental health issues who, really appreciate having a site that works well, the difference that makes is huge. Because, for example, we have a more accessible site that people can use better, who aren't, they're not going to be overwhelmed by, complicated functionality. It's really simple and clean, and that makes a massive difference. And be able to find this like really important information.
Yeah, and I'd like to add, so I've been working at Hive for 2 years, and I think the very first project I was working on was the Flourish site, or just some of the last few features that was on there. And I was working with, I think it was with Robin. Really enjoyed working with her on that, and then also working with you, Joe, on this project. Like, it's been, I think for me, being involved on like from the start to finish of the development, it's kind of like my first big project or main project for me that I've really been able to kind of like flourish on. Pardon the pun. But it's just been like really nice to work with you guys. You've been really like receptive to our ideas and coming up with ideas on your own. But I'm really looking forward to getting like more feedback and user tests on like the new site. Obviously, it's like an improvement. Well, I hope it is. We'll see what the testing says. But it's just so that we can iterate and make it even better.
Yeah, that's great. I think accessibility, I mean, it is just so important. And as you said, Joe, like just making sure that all of the end users have that sort of, that they're not overwhelmed and that they can easily use that site. It just is just so crucial. I guess with the site now, it sounds like hopefully a lot more people will be able to go and check things out a lot more easily, a lot more. So it's just more inclusive as well, right? So that's great to hear. How's the launch last week? Sound like that went quite well then, right?
Yeah, it was really nice. We had 46 people turn up online, which was really good. It's quite a lot, because actually recent digital things we've put on, it's been tailing off a bit because people are so tired of going online. But it was really nice to see loads of people there, and quite a few people said you've really like brought this website into the future, which was really nice feedback. And would definitely agree with that.
Nice. I feel like everything has been so positive so far, but were there any challenges along the journey?
Yeah, I think what would be the challenges? I think it's always a challenge to incorporate everything that a user wants. I think we probably haven't been able to do that, because I think Alan made decisions around making the website simple, and I think that is really important. But it's always a really difficult balance, because you do want to give everything that people have suggested, but it just isn't possible.
So you have to make a bit of a trade-off between simplicity and detail, because obviously like sometimes the detail can help people. But that's a difficult one, actually. It's quite interesting to hear. Stu, did you find any challenges during your time working on this?
Plenty, but hopefully I've overcome most of them now. I think for me, the main, there's always the time factor, isn't there? Like, we've only had a few months to work on this, and I think for me, some of the main kind of struggles were just like work related ones, really. Nothing too major in terms of like the project itself. But there's, like I said before, there is still like a few creases that I'd like to iron out with this like process of using WordPress, namely some of the draft previewing, stuff like that, for like the content maintainers. And once we can get that really cleaned up and working as well as we'd like, then I think everything else will just be kind of like plain sailing, I hope.
Yeah. And do you think we'll be working on it much more in the future? you mentioned that you'd like to maybe see some testing on new site as well.
Yeah, so well, for me personally, I feel like I haven't heard a lot of like feedback or like constructive criticism of the new site. It's nice to hear, Joe, you to say, oh, like it's amazing, and to say that you've had people tell you it's brought into the future. But for me, I'm like, how can we make it even better? So hopefully we'll get the opportunity, to continue what we're working on. I've really enjoyed working on it, and it's just like nice to be able to say, like, I've worked on this project that's helping people who go working through mental health issues. That just feels good. Like, yeah, really loved it.
Yeah, I see that. I think it's such like an important time to work on something like this as well. So yeah, it's amazing. I think that's all my questions covered really. So thanks to both of you for coming on. Appreciate it. And to anyone listening, check out Sheffield Mental Health Guides. What's the name for it? sheffieldmentalhealthguide.com, is it? I don't know. Go on.
sheffieldmentalhealth.co.uk. So
I got
nice
that
and
completely
simple.
wrong.
Close. We chose the URL to be kind of exactly matching what someone might Google to make it nice and SEO friendly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's so much shorter than my one. So nice job there. All right, thanks guys. Anyone listening, I hope you have a great rest of your day.